Welcome back to Merrill Math. I'm Mr. Merrill, and today we're going to be talking about products of complex numbers. So complex numbers are kind of interesting because every number probably that you've ever thought of can be thought of as a complex number. These are in the form a plus bi. So complex numbers don't necessarily have to be imaginary numbers because the b term, a and b, are real numbers. The coefficients a and b are real numbers. And b can be 0. So for any real number that you know, it could just be in the form, a plus 0i. So any number is a complex number, basically. There are exceptions, but you have to go pretty far down the rabbit hole to find numbers that aren't. So at any rate, complex numbers, a plus bi. So this is a pretty easy thing to do if you have some experience with just multiplying binomials. So these should look kind of familiar. So if you have something like 3x plus 1 times, 4x minus 4 or whatever, that process is the same thing here. There is a form that you can memorize to kind of take a little bit of a shortcut, but in the end, you end up doing the exact same calculations anyways, so it's fine to approach these like regular binomial problems. There is a twist when we get to the end, but we're going to get to that when we get to it. I have a video on expansion boxes, and that's when I deal with binomials. That's typically what I do. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I've got 7, I've got a negative 9i, and we're just going to multiply these like it's a multiplication table. So 7 times 3, that's 21. 7 times 2i, that's 14i. 3 times a negative 9i, that's a negative 27i. And then we have a 2i times a negative 9i, that's a negative 18i squared. Now this right here is where the catch is. This term, when if we would do like a regular binomial multiplication, this is where we would get our quadratic whatever form from, something like this, where you have a variable and it's squared. But this isn't a variable. I is the square root of negative 1, which means that I squared is negative 1. So this is negative 18 times negative 1. This becomes just a positive 18. This is just a constant. It's a regular number. So what that means is we can simplify this a little bit. So we've got 21 plus 18. So that's 39. And we have a negative 27 and a positive 14. So 14, it's a 24, what is that, 13, so minus 13i. So I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of examples because the process is basically the same every time you do these. So this is actually kind of a short video. I'm normally prone to talking a lot more, so you lucked out. It's a pretty easy process if you know your binomials. If you don't, feel free to use expansion boxes. There's a really old video on this channel about those. Otherwise, if you have any questions, comments, points of clarification, feel free to leave those in the comments below. And thanks for watching.